Hello, welcome. Happy full moon. So February 19th, the moon in Virgo opposes the sun, which just moved into Pisces on February 18th. And Mercury, the ruling planet of Virgo, is conjunct Neptune, the ruling planet of Pisces. So I think that is very befitting for this full moon. So something to note about all of these, the entire pattern that's being created in the sky by the planets is there is an abundance of planets on one side of the chart and just the moon in Virgo on the other side of the chart. So it's actually considered to be a funnel. So it's like there's all this energy and then there's one focal point. So it's like, like for that area of life and this area of life, it's just like this intense force. So wherever Virgo is in your chart will be felt more strongly than normal because your focus has been somewhere else for this entire time here, where all these planets have been, the slower moving planets have been hanging out on one side of the chart. Then all of a sudden the moon in Virgo is like, hello, here I am. I'm over here. Don't forget about me. So, Virgo rules our daily responsibilities and pets as well, and our health. So if you happen to have Virgo in your 6th house, if you're an Aries rising, that would be the case, or possibly, one of the other signs near Aries, then a health thing could pop up for you, or it could be that you just have to catch up on certain routine tasks, or somehow routine tasks in your life is going to figure more prominently. And actually, this may apply not just to Aries rising, but especially to Aries rising, right? And the other thing that has been happening that's been very significant for this entire year is that the South Node moved into Capricorn, and the North Node, because, they're opposite, is in Cancer. And the thing is, right now, Venus was recently exactly conjunct Saturn. And I'll just go off on that tangent first real quick. So Venus conjunct Saturn has really refined our relationships. So there's been a point of needing to refine the relationships that we have, and so there's been more pressure perhaps, but pressure, of course, creates strength. So right now, our relationships, the ones that are the strongest, are feeling the strongest as well. So there's been a strengthening in our bonds. And Pluto, so Saturn is at 16 degrees of Capricorn, Venus is at 18 degrees of Capricorn, Pluto is at 22 degrees of Capricorn, and the South Node is at 26 degrees of Capricorn. So that is very, that's a stellium right there if I ever saw one. So things have been, obviously, this brings up politics in my own mind, and I'm sure it brings it up in your own mind. So right now there's been an emphasis on something, there's something brewing, that's for sure. It's been brewing and it's taking forever. If you're paying attention and have been immersed in what's happening, the processes that are happening are just taking forever. We don't know fully what the end result will be just yet, but there is definitely a transformation taking place. There is a refinement taking place. There is Venus there, hopefully creating more beauty or harmony as well to help bring about changes that are, you know, hopefully more beautiful and harmonious in the long run. And the other thing that's happening with this South Node in Capricorn is we're moving away from the outer world a bit, you know, like, and it's not like so cut and dry perhaps, but there has been, when the North Node is in Cancer, there's been a movement towards focusing on our emotional world, our inner world, our home life, our family, and really that foundation that we build upon. And that will be a focus for, you know, the entire time that the North Node is there, which each transit for the North Node is about 18 months. And it's been a few months now that it's been there, or well, like 2 or 3, something like that-ish. And the other thing that's happening is that Chiron is now in Aries again. So we were finishing up some healing of collective wounds and deep unconscious wounds within our own selves while it was in Pisces. It retrograded back into Pisces. Now that it's moving back into Aries, it's like we're kind of bringing on maybe like a teacher warrior kind of energy now. It's less about the wounds in this fiery sign, I think, and more about being stronger, being a teacher, and teaching about what we've learned from healing all those deep wounds in Pisces. So, you know, it's also of course, still going to be about healing certain types of wounds, especially, you know, revolving around competition, war, ego, combat, battle, fights, things like that, you know, Aries stuff. And now also Uranus is at 29 degrees of Aries, so it's going to be moving into Taurus extremely soon, and Mars is at 3 degrees of Taurus right now. So Uranus is conjunct Mars, almost going to be in Taurus here. One of them's in Aries, one of them's in Taurus. So that's interesting to note as well, right? So Mars in Taurus is going to give us energy and a boost of energy around what it is we value. So when it comes to where we put our energies, it's going to have to be something that we actually identify with, like morally and align with morally and ethically and things of that nature. But it also gives us a money making boost if we use it towards that, if that's what you value, if that's what you are driven towards, right? And it can also be about, you know, something about things, you know, Mars, though, you know, it's like one of those things, you know, it's, I don't know, it like could be about action-oriented things or getting things in order to take action on something, stuff like that. And then and then there's Jupiter in Sagittarius, which I actually haven't even talked about, but it's been there since November, I think, or like end of October, something around that time. So Jupiter in Sagittarius, it's at 20 degrees of Sagittarius now. This is, I mean, the weird thing is, like, I barely have even felt this. I don't even know, like, what it means right now, because it's been so quiet, I feel like. Maybe it's because it's in its own sign, but usually Jupiter is all about travel. Sagittarius is all about travel, you know, because Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and it's about expanding your mind, expanding your consciousness, expanding your awareness. And I think in terms of all of that, there has certainly been just maybe an opening in realization, an opening in seeing things from a wider viewpoint, and just kind of, you know, feeling things out, I think, you know, like this expansion has been more about looking at things differently and being more philosophical. I've been feeling a bit more philosophical myself, and that's kind of, I think, what's been going on with that, you know? And let's see what else is happening. I feel like there should be some aspects going on. Let's see. Oh, so yeah, Mercury conjunct Neptune. So right now, we have a conscious view of the unconscious. So that could mean seeing into the veil, seeing into like what's beyond this world, seeing into, you know, mysterious things, mystical things, intuitive abilities being more accessible, sensing things beyond the rational mind, sensing things beyond our physical senses, which I might have already said. And also confusion in communication can be a possibility. Confusion in thinking, lack of clarity in communication or in thinking, and that kind of stuff. Then there's also the sextile to Saturn, which kind of makes that even harder, if you ask me. Like, Saturn can kind of create blockages, but it can also be like this need to like pinpoint what is hard to pinpoint, if you know what I mean. Like, so we may discover things, we may, you know, oh, we could create like crazy theories about these things, or like, you know, go off into imagination land. But Saturn will be like, oh, but is it provable? Is it proven? Is it true? Is it like, is the skeptical kind of, you know, it wants to clamp down on what's real. So that actually is very useful for scientific breakthroughs, I think, and kind of a merging of the poetic with the logic, and especially with Mercury conjunct Neptune. So there is that kind of thing going on for sure. And then, of course, you know, Venus is also sextile Mercury conjunct Neptune. So that is extremely beautiful and amazing for relationships. It creates that sense of unification, connection, deep intimacy and union, and a sense of timelessness and presence and love, ultimately. Yeah. So I guess on that note, I shall leave you to your own devices. No, I'm just kidding. But with the moon in Virgo, it will not leave you to your own devices. No, it'll help you to manage yourself. I don't know what I'm saying. All right. Have an awesome time. Bye.